Let's be honest.
And there's the critical drinker for us. Maybe that is the critical drinker. Maybe that's actually it's not a image from a movie. It's just real life footage from critical drinker's home. But this time it's a little bit different. A little bit different topic. Same genre. Or not genre, same company. So let's see what happened to. Honestly, I don't know that this show had any hype, but we're looking at She-Hulk literally killed careers by the critical drinker. Um, it's basically looking at, the film or the TV series She-Hulk. And before I get into it, I would say that I don't know how everybody else felt about the show when it was announced, but I kind of was excited. I went to law school, I just graduated, and the law has been something that's always interested me in TV shows. I liked Suits, it was a good one. So I was kind of excited about the She-Hulk TV show, but then and the thing that really got me is at the very beginning of the first episode, she said this is going to be a serious lawyer show. I was like, okay, I'm down for it. So let's see what they actually gave us, and let's let Critical Drinker take it away.
Let's be honest here, we've all done
loves this
things
clip.
we'd rather forget. Like, there was this one night in Aberdeen when we were drinking pints of Advocaat, and my mate Neil somehow managed to get with a midget stripper at one end and a ridiculous amounts of coleslaw. And he's like, shoot him, you idiot. Honestly thought we'd never get that whole dug, man. Wait, you're gonna edit.
Did I miss something?
Let's be honest here, we've all done things we'd rather forget. Like, there was this one night in Aberdeen when we were drinking pints of Advocaat, and my mate Neil somehow managed to get with a midget stripper at one end and a ridiculous amounts of coleslaw.
Okay,
and he's like,
didn't
shoot
miss
him, you idiot.
but he's clearly
honestly thought we'd never get that whole dug, man. Wait, you're gonna edit that stuff out later, right? Okay, good. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about?
Critical.
Oh yeah, stuff we'd rather forget. And when it comes to Marvel, there's one show in particular they'd much rather we all forgot. And that show is She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. I mean, who can blame them, really? It was an absolutely disastrous attempt at a legal comedy with feminist overtones, made by people with no understanding of the legal system, who are to comedy what the quartering is to personal integrity. But hey, at least it got those all-important feminist talking points in there, right?
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger.
Oh, shut up, you tart!
I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional.
You are a wally, you really are.
Or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered.
You give my arse an headache.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Oh, shut up, you tart.
It was a show that set out to preemptively attack its own fan base for not liking it, on the genius assumption that they would dislike it for attacking its fan base, thus creating a perfect feedback loop of retarded self-destruction.
That's literally how I felt, because I'm watching this show that's claiming to be about law, and there's this girl who's claiming to be in control of her emotions when everything is presenting clearly to the opposite, which maybe creates a good premise for the start of consternation or start of problems in a show, but they just kept reinforcing the idea with no solution or no plan to fix that consternation or that contradiction. And I really, it made me sad, because what did Bruce do? He's been working, trying to be the Hulk, trying to be the best Hulk he can be in the Avengers, and he's grown a lot over, like, I don't know, dozens of movies at this point, and multiple actors, that's for sure. And I don't know. I just feel like he was owed a little bit more respect than this scene right here. where we get this
Show that set out to
her slamming him around, and then that comes immediately after her verbally,
So I'm an
just-
expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more.
Does that look like someone who's calm? Does that look like someone who's containing their anger? No, it's crazy to me.
More than you.
Oh, shut up, you tart.
It was
I'll
a show
shut
that
up,
set
too.
out to preemptively attack its own fan base for not liking it, on the genius assumption that they would dislike it for attacking its fan base, thus creating a perfect feedback loop of retarded self-destruction.
That's a great way to describe it.
As it turns out, though, it didn't pay off for them, and the show was so wildly unpopular that Marvel had to specifically step in and announce its cancellation.
Oh no! What happened?
It was to the MCU what the Acolyte would be to Star Wars a couple of years later, and it was kinda hilarious to see such a spitefully self-righteous piece of shit get tossed onto the ash heap of history where it belongs. But you might be asking yourself, how the hell was this even allowed to happen? How could Marvel and Kevin Feige, who'd spent more than a decade turning the MCU into a finely tuned money printing machine, have permitted such an embarrassing disaster to unfold? Well, the answer came courtesy of author Daniel Friedman, who lifted the lid on the backstage conflicts, clashing egos, and insane decision making behind She-Hulk. And because I do enjoy me a bit of Schadenfreude once in a while, let us go on this journey of discovery together, shall
She threw a table. How is she in
permitted such an
control?
embarrassing
She literally threw a table
decision
in
making
court.
behind She-Hulk.
She would be disbarred immediately, and probably in jail.
And because I do enjoy me a bit of Schadenfreude once in a while,
Jeff.
let us go on this journey of discovery together, shall we? To properly
We
understand how the She-Hulk disaster started, you have to go back to 2017 with the release of the Rick and Morty episode, Pickle Rick. Ah, remember when Rick and Morty was this smart,
What does
funny,
this have to
edgy
do with
show that people liked? That was a good time, I liked that. Anyway, the lead writer on this episode was Jessica Gao, who pitched a bit of a hissy fit when showrunner Dan Harmon cast Susan Sarandon to voice the character of Dr. Wong. Because everyone knows that two Wongs don't make a right. Anyway, because this was 2017 and the entire world had lost its fucking mind when it came to this kind of stuff, she was able to browbeat Harmon into doing a podcast series with her called Whiting Wongs. It was basically a multi-episode struggle session where Harmon had to sit there and listen to Gao bang on about the usual laundry list of late 2010s social justice grievances, and it's a
Is
pretty
this
impressive
really-
example
does
of
this
how
really
retarded the world had become by that point. This absolute nobody was able to strong-arm one of the biggest showrunners of the industry onto a podcast and berate him for hours on end just by
How?
invoking the magic R words. Awesome. Anyway, the episode and the podcast put Gao on the radar, and pretty soon she came to the attention of Kevin Feige. Feige, under mounting pressure, had recently made a public commitment to involve more women in the MCU, both in front of and behind the camera, and Gao seemed like the perfect fit to front the new She-Hulk show that he was planning. She was a woman, she was ethnically diverse, and she'd written an award-winning episode of Rick and Morty, which even Feige vaguely understood was popular amongst humans.
Yeah.
Great stuff. What could possibly go wrong? So it soon became obvious to everyone involved that Gao didn't have a fucking clue what she was doing. She'd promised to create Ally McBeal for the MCU. The only problem is, nobody on her hand-picked team of retards knew anything about lawyers, court procedures, or legal terminology, and she didn't think to hire any consultants to help them. The result? Absolutely disastrous test screenings, forcing Kevin Feige to descend from the golden throne himself and directly intervene in the production, desperately trying to unfuck her mistakes. Naturally, the relationship with Gao soured quickly, but it was the finale that finally pushed Kevin over the edge. Gao
Okay. This finale was crazy. Honestly, with her crawling out of this freaking frame, it really felt like the people who were running the show were just like flipping the bird to anyone who was watching it and Disney for having it on their platform and like just everything. And the other thing I would add, the fact that this lawyer show, this serious lawyer show that they emphasized at the very beginning of the very first episode had absolutely no effort to get any legal mumbo jumbo correct. I understand that most law shows are not realistic. Suits is not realistic. And a lot of these other shows are not realistic. But that doesn't mean that you can't at least pretend to be understanding of that area and that field and use the terminology and the culture correctly, because what they did was just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And again, if she behaved even half of the way that she did in the court, short of throwing the desk, I'm pretty sure she would be having sanctions and no one would ever have her in her court or in their court ever again.
Wanted She-Hulk to break out of the show itself and confront Kevin, the giant robotic AI that runs the MCU, and demand a better ending for herself. It was a not-so-subtle dig at the formulaic, robotic nature of what the MCU had become. I mean, she wasn't wrong either. Feige was willing to be a good sport and take the hit, but that wasn't enough for Gao. She wanted to put a baseball cap on the robot to really drive the point home. A cap just like the one that Feige always wears because he's a baldman, and a hat lets him pretend that he's still got hair or something. This apparently was a bridge too far for old Kevin though, who refused to let her do it, and the feud escalated to the point where Gao actually handed in her resignation in what I can only describe as the worst case of attempted big leaguing I've ever seen. And Kevin was like, fine, see you later then, bitch.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Fucking Christ, these are grown adults we're talking about here, willing to kill careers over a baseball cap. Truly, if you play social justice games, you win social justice prizes. And the only prize Kevin had won with this one was a gigantic pain in the arse. Anyway, disaster was only averted when a special effects designer managed to put a piece of metal on the robot that looked vaguely like a hat, thus satisfying the honor of both sides. For Gao, though, it was only a temporary reprieve, and once the show actually came out and people saw it for the disaster it was pretty obvious it was headed for one place. Fucking cancellation. Yeah. I mean, you have to imagine Kevin killed this one with a certain degree of relish, considering how much of a pain in the arse Gao had been for him. What's interesting, though, is that Jessica Gao hasn't produced a single thing in the past 4 years. No movies, no TV shows, not even a web series. She's basically vanished into obscurity, completely blacklisted by the entire industry. And well, I can't help but think that the scales of cosmic justice were nicely balanced by this one. Sometimes, dear viewer, you really do get what you fucking deserve. And for someone idiotic enough to produce She-Hulk and think it was a good idea, well, they deserve unemployment.
Amen. Go
anyway,
work at a coffee shop.
That's all I've got
you're not
for
gonna
today.
waste somebody else's time.
Go away now.
Bruce, you deserve better. I don't know how they got you in this show. This was a mess. All right, let's do the pleasantries. Let's check out. Let's hit a like because that was a solid video, and we'll do one of these. I actually don't know that I even know how to. So let's close that out. Jesus, what has YouTube become? I am infinitely better than you at controlling my anger, she said angrily. That's, great minds, Alpha. Great minds. Still can't believe they had a scene where a strong female character lectures the literal Hulk about anger. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Hulk is literally like he magnifies the anger. So it's not even just normal human anger that he's dealing with. It's a Hulkly anger, a Hulkly rage that they use. So I don't know. It even seems like that might have been overlooked, but maybe I'm wrong. Writers, we knew the fans would hate this. So rather than making something fans would like, we attack them. I mean, he just repeated what he said, but yes. Never watched it and sometimes forget it exists. I wish I could forget it. Never dunk on the audience ever. You know, I feel like that's a pretty solid rule of thumb for someone who's making content to be consumed by other people. Jessica Gao really wanted to let the world know how little talent she has. That's commitment. Nice, Jim Jam. All right. Hope they recover. Rather meet Hulk in person than watch the She-Hulk show. That's fair. The fact she insisted on humiliating her boss in the finale, and he actually somehow agreed, but then she blew the whole thing up over the baseball cap detail is insane. It really is, because the fact that the baseball cap is where it blew up over is crazy, because the whole show was terrible. The whole finale was terrible. It was all really bad. I control my anger. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's She-Hulk for you.
Let's be honest.
And there's the critical drinker for us. Maybe that is the critical drinker. Maybe that's actually, it's not a image from a movie. It's just real life footage from critical drinker's home.